Well, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Um, this is Calvin Butler with the RBBS Logistics Learning Centers and the RBBS LLC Corporate Consulting for Freight Brokerage Startups. Uh, Look, I know some of you all you haven't heard from me in a while. I've been extremely busy. Got a lot of great things that we have that's going on, but I did want to come on here today and let's talk about this new mandate, this new requirement that the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has imposed upon brokers, that brokers now must be more transparent and show owner operators how they make their money. Um, if you all recall, I did a broadcast back in ooh, October, November of last year, and it was concerning the uh, the push that freight brokers were putting on the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration about putting the pressure on dispatchers to they have them to clarify their role and their legality. And a lot of freight brokers were saying that this was finally going to push dispatchers out of the industry, and dispatchers are finally going to have to get a bond and all that type of stuff. And y'all remember, I said that nothing of the sort was going to happen. And I also gave freight brokers a fair warning. I gave them a fair warning back then that basically said that, while you're trying to shine the light on dispatchers and how they're operating, you might want to take a look in your own backyard, because I specifically said that freight brokers would have more to lose than dispatchers back when they was trying to, when the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration was saying that they were going to look into dispatchers and clarify their role and redefine the role of dispatchers. And I specifically remember saying that, 90% of dispatchers are operating legally. They don't have anything to worry about. But I also said that it's freight brokers who should really be worried, because I said then that after the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration was done with dispatchers, they were going to take a closer look at freight brokers and how they make their money. And a lot of freight brokers, a lot of people came on my broadcast, and they were commenting that I didn't know what I was talking about. I was crazy. When I said that freight brokers should be negotiating a margin on top of the lane rate that's already allocated for the owner operators or the carriers, so that's their money. And then we as freight brokers, we're supposed to negotiate a margin on top of that for the shipper to pay us to get that freight moved. And a lot of you all said that I was crazy. I didn't know what I was talking about. There was no such thing as negotiating a margin on top of the lane rate. Where did I get that from? How did you come up with that? That's just something you made up. Uh-huh. But now, guess what? You all see that I was telling the truth. You all see that I was correct in trying to educate you all, trying to educate a lot of these brokers on how the process really is supposed to work. Because here's what has happened over the years: you've got all these Johnny come newcomer freight broker trainers out there who have never actually ran a brokerage firm, who don't know anything really about freight broking other than what they put up on Google and put together their little platforms, and they put them out there. And they've been teaching these new freight brokers for years, that you take the lane rate, then you subtract whatever money you want to make off that from that. If the lane rate is $3,000 short of $3,000, you post it on the load board for $2,100 or $2,200 or $2,500, and that's what's left over. That's your money. No, that's not. That's not your margin. That's your loot you just stole. That's what that is. That is basically just the loot that you just stole, because you just stole money from the carrier. Okay. And I have been telling, in my training sessions, in my vocational school, I have been training freight brokers for years that you are to negotiate a margin on top of the lane rate. If the lane rate says that lane is paying $3.43 per mile, guess what? That's for the carrier. That's their money. You don't touch that money. You didn't negotiate what you need on top of that. Well, I need a margin of 12 to 20%. If I can get 17%, I'm going to try to get 17% margin, right? On top of that, what? $3.43. So my margin would be around what, 51 cents per mile, or whatever the case may be. That's my margin. Now that's the total rate that the broker would pay to us, but that $3.43 that's in that lane rate, that goes to who? The carrier. And the 50 cents, 51 cents, or 41 cents, or whatever my margin is, that comes to who? Me, the broker. And we never had a problem with showing carriers that. Why? Because when we show it to them, we pull up the lane rates on both the DAT rate and the Ascend AccuLane rate, and they see that carriers in the last 90 days got paid $3.47 a mile. Got paid in the last 60 days $3.42 a mile. Last 30 days, they got paid $3.45 or 43 cents per mile. And it shows the 7-day prediction, the 7-day projection showing that it's going to be paying $3.43 per mile. So they see that they are getting that $3.43 per mile, and then we don't have a problem with showing them our margin on top of that was 41 cents a mile, 51 cents a mile, what it gets be. So in other words, they're getting paid the $3.43 per mile, and we're getting paid the 51 cents a mile. That's on top of that, but we're not touching their money. That is the way it was always meant to be. That is the way that the guidelines said that you were supposed to be doing it. But you had a lot of these brokers out here that was taking that $3.41 per mile, and they were taking their 75 cents from there, or even $1 from there, and then they post on the load board for $2.43 per mile. That's stealing. That's not a margin. That's loot that you just stole. That's what that is. That's stealing. I know a lot of you all are looking at me now saying, so and so, he think he know it all. No, it's not that I know it all. It's just that I do my research. I make sure I do business the right way. I make sure that when I'm teaching people, when I'm teaching brokers how to broker freight, I teach them the right way of doing it. Now, if you all doubt what I'm saying, let's go back and let's play some of what we said back then in October. I'm going to share my screen here. There I am. Look at that. Oh, boy, there I am. Let me make sure I got my sound. Let me make sure I'm sharing my sound. Yes, I'm sharing my sound. Got all that down. We are recorded and sharing my sound. All right, so we're going to go ahead and play a little bit of this clip from back in, when was this? This was in, I think it was in October. Yeah, 10 months ago. This was back last year. I think it was in October is when I put this out, and we was talking about, you know, the upcoming Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's review of dispatchers and brokers, and I said, and broker practices could harm brokers more than dispatchers, and you know, so he who live in glass houses should not throw stones. But anyway, let me go ahead and play this for you all. How's everybody doing? Look, a friend of mine, or one of my students, just sent me something, a video that he watched that was put on YouTube about 10, 15, 20 minutes ago. I'm not gonna call the name because I don't do that type of stuff, but a prominent freight broker trainer in the industry was saying that, you know, he was looking forward, or there was some concern about the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association reviewing the role of dispatchers and freight brokers. Okay, and he stated, you know, pretty much what I've been, you know, preaching and teaching in my online course and at my freight broker and dispatcher vocational school for years now, that dispatchers and freight brokers are not the same. Well, his stance was that, you know, some dispatchers are operating as freight brokers. Okay, first of all, dispatchers who are operating legally do not operate as freight brokers. You know, there's clearly a defined difference between freight brokers and dispatchers. Now, what he was saying that the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association is going to do a review, and they may have to clarify the role of dispatchers and freight brokers. Dispatchers, I don't think you all have to worry. The reason, and here's the reason why. Dispatchers have been operating for the last 30 plus years. Every 2 to 3 years, there's always some type of challenge to the legality of dispatching, okay? And the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association has ruled over the last 25 plus years on every challenge that dispatching is legal. That dispatchers
are not paid the way freight brokers are. Here's the reason why freight brokers are need to have a bond, and need to have an authority, because they are going directly to shippers, and they get paid by the shipper. Now, freight brokers are supposed to negotiate a margin on top of the money that shippers have allocated to carriers. Let me repeat that. The way freight brokers are legally supposed to operate, they're supposed to be negotiating a margin on top of the money that is allocated by a shipper to be paid to carriers. In other words, freight brokers should not be touching the carrier's money. Why? Because the carrier's money is allocated for them to go out and hire bona fide agents, contract agents, dispatchers who sign a pre-existing agreement for continued service with that carrier. Those are the legal differences between a freight broker and a dispatcher. Dispatchers are paid by the carrier, so because they are a contracted agent of the carrier, they do not need an authority, because they do not operate independently without being contracted with the carrier. A freight broker can operate independently without being contracted with the carrier or any other entity. Therefore, they must have an authority. That is what they're going to clarify. Now, here is why freight brokers should be more worried about this upcoming review than dispatchers, and what he and other freight broker trainers are not telling you. They have been teaching freight brokers how to steal from owner-operators. Okay, I don't bite my tongue. I don't take it back, because it's true. If you are a freight broker and you were taught to go out to a shipper and get the loads that the shipper has, and whatever the money that the shipper has on those loads, then you can take those loads, and you can take, let's say a load is paying $3,000, you take $700 off that load and you post it for $2,300 instead of the full $3,000. Guess what? You are stealing. You are stealing. You are operating illegally. So brokers really should be worried, because what I suspect is going to happen is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association is going to clearly define how each of those two entities are supposed to operate, and how each of those two entities are supposed to get paid. Now, are there some dispatchers out there who operate illegally, like a freight broker? Yes, some dispatchers go directly to shippers and they try to negotiate rates. You can't do that.
All right. As you all can see, as you all can clearly see, you know, I said this, back in October. I think it was October. It might have been. It was 10 months ago. It was 10 months ago when I broadcast that. And as you all can see, everything has come to pass exactly the way I outlined that it would. And like I said, freight brokers had more to worry about than dispatchers did at that time, because the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, they were not only going to clarify how dispatchers should be making their money, but then they were going to turn around and take a closer look at freight brokers, because freight brokers are the ones who have really, well, traditionally freight brokers are the ones who have really throughout, especially in the last 15 years, with all these new new freight broker trainers coming along, these people who have never even ran their own freight brokerage firm. They've never driven a truck. They never ran their own freight brokerage firm, but they were pulling up all this stuff from Google and all this secondhand stuff, and they were piecing together their platforms from stuff that they've never done. And that's how you got all these freight brokers who were coming up, who were just stealing money from the carrier. Well, guess what? The door has been shut. Boom. And freight brokers are in trouble, trouble, trouble. If you were one of those freight brokers who was making your money through that practice, you are in trouble. Okay? You can no longer do that. Now, when a carrier says, I want to see, your margin. I want to see how you calculated your margin. I want to see what margin you negotiated with the shipper. Now you have to provide that. But those of us who were doing that already, it's no problem with us, because this is how we were operating. This is how I trained all my students since 2017. This is how you are supposed to broker freight. You are supposed to negotiate your margins with the shipper. And that's on top of what the lane rate pays. Let me take a quick minute to show y'all exactly what I'm talking about of how you're supposed to negotiate your margins. Okay, we're gonna go over here to CNTMS. I'm going to log in here to my CNTMS. And we're gonna go over here to my AccuRates. All right, this is how this is supposed to go. All right, let's say if you got a lane that's going from Dallas, Texas, and that lane is running to, let's say, New York. This is going to New York, New York. All right, Dallas, Texas to New York. And let's say that is a refrigerated lane. All right. All right. If you're looking at this, the AccuRate, it's going to pull up. It's going to give you the lane rate. Now, this is what a lane rate is. This is what a lane rate looks like. This is how you calculate lane rates. You put in from where it's picking up to where it's going. You put in the type of trailer that is being used, and it's going to give you the past 90 days of. It's going to calculate all the reefer trucks that ran that route in the last 90 days. Now, it's giving you. It says that the average is somewhere between is on average is $3.60 per mile. Now, that doesn't mean that some people didn't run it for $3 per mile, and that doesn't mean that some people didn't run it for $4 per mile or $4.50 or $5 per mile, because some people did. What it's doing is it's taking the average of all that freight and it's telling you what the average lane rate is. So this is what a carrier should be paid on average, what they should be paid in that lane. And right now it's saying that in the past 90 days, it had an average lane rate of $3.60 per mile. In the past 30 days, it had a lane rate of $3.59 per mile. It dropped 1 cent per mile. In the past 15 days, it had a lane rate of $3.58 per mile. So it dropped another cent per mile. So it's giving you the average rate in the future for the next 7 days. It's giving you a prediction of what the average rate is going to be for the next 7 days, and that's $3.58 per mile. So on average, a reefer carrier should be paid $3.58 per mile in that lane. That's 1,548 miles, which that's going to be $5,541.84. Now, as a broker, you are not supposed to touch that money. You're not supposed to take any of that money and call that a margin for yourself. Well, I'm going to take, let's say, I'm going to take $1,000 off that $5,541, and I'm going to put $1,000 in my pocket, and I'm going to post it on the lower board for $4,541. That's stealing. That's not your money. That's stealing. That's not a margin. That's loot from a theft that you just perpetrated on the carrier. I know that's harsh words, but it is what it is, man. You know, I don't call a duck a dog. I don't call a dog a duck. If you're a thief, you're a thief. Plain and simple. Okay? I know it's going to make a lot of people mad, but guess what? I don't care. Because I have been doing business the right way. And for all you all that told me I was crazy, stupid, I was making this stuff up, there's no such thing as margins. Crickets. I don't hear nothing. Nothing. Because that's not how you were supposed to be doing business. This is how you're supposed to do business. You're supposed to take that $3.50 per mile. Let's pull up my calculator here. Now, if that's the lane, right, you're supposed to take that. Now, normally what I do with my brokerage firm and when I'm training people, if you got a lane that's going long miles, you're going to go low on your margin. If you got a lane that's going short miles, you're going to go a little bit higher on your margin rate. Why? Because just like when you go to the load board, those that are running short miles usually pays a higher rate to the carrier per mile. That rate per mile is not paying that much in actual money, but it's paying the rate per mile is usually much higher in a short mile run. Something that's less than, let's say, 200 miles is paying a whole lot more rate per mile. It may be paying a $7 or $8 or $9 rate per mile versus something that's going 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 miles, maybe paying something closer to a $3 or $4 or even a $2.50 or $2 per mile. Because that's just how it works out. Okay, so when I'm looking at this and I'm trying to give a quote to a shipper. Shipper says, okay, give me a quote on what you would charge me to move freight from Dallas, Texas to New York. I go and I pull up the lane rates, what I have right here. I see my lane rate is $3.58 per mile. That's what that reefer carriers normally get paid to run that lane in the last 90, 30, 15, and for the next 7 days. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that $3.58, take that 3.58. Then I'm going to say to myself, this is a pretty long run, so I don't need a high margin. I usually try to come somewhere between 15 and 20% margin. That's just me. That's what I try to get. Most shippers really like you to be somewhere between 10 and a 15% margin, but I try to get 15 to 20% margin. I'm a businessman. I got to make money. I got people to pay. I got freight. I got the freight acquisition executives. I got carrier group managers. I got processors. Broker's firm has bills, so I try to get somewhere between 15 and 20% on my margin. That's not unfair. That's fair business because I'm not touching the carrier's money. That is the carrier's money. That $3.50 a mile, that's the carrier's money. I'm not touching that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and say, well, since this is a long mile run, I'm going to be closer to that 15% margin. So I'm going to do that plus 15%. That means I'm going to be making 54 cents per mile. That's what I'm going to be making. That's my cut. That's my cut. Because I'm providing the service for the shipper. I'm helping the shipper to move this load, so the shipper has to pay me for doing that. Not the carrier don't have to pay me for doing that. That's not how I get paid. That's how dispatchers get paid. They get paid by the carrier. I'm a broker. My job is to negotiate a margin with the shipper for the shipper to pay me for the service of me finding carriers to move that freight. So I negotiate my 53 cents per mile, and I get my 54 cents per mile. 53 is 53.7 is what it really is. But I'm getting my 54 cents per mile. So I add that to it, and I put out a quote to the shipper, Mr. Shipper, I can move your loads in this lane for $4.12 per mile. $4.11.7, whatever, but $4.12 per mile. That's what I give a quote to the shipper. Now, when a trucking company calls me up and says, Mr. Butler, can I see how you calculated that? I take them right to the accurate rate or to the DAT rate, and I show them what the lane rate is. There's your money right there. Here's my money right here. Right? My money is that 53 cents or 54 cents per mile. Yours is the $3.58 per mile. The carrier is always going to have the greater lion's share of the rate. This is how it's supposed to be done. That's just how it's supposed to be done. And now you all are finding that out. For years, there have been most brokers out there were operating, nefariously or operating in a way that wasn't, it just wasn't right. It just wasn't right. And now they're going to be forced. They're now being forced to operate the right way. That means a lot of shippers are going to be dropping some brokers because their previous contracts are no longer valid of how they were moving the freight. They got to renegotiate with them. Because now when these trucking companies say, I want to see your quotes, and they go and they look at the rate and they see that, well, the rate says I should be getting $3.58 per mile, but you post this on the low board and you paid me $3 per mile. Or you paid me $2.58 per mile. Okay, where's my other dollar? Where's my other 58 cents per mile? Looks like trouble. Some trouble. There's something wrong with that, right? See, now they're going to have to be transparent with that. But those of us who were operating the right way, those people who attended our vocational school or took our training, they know that that was wrong, and the way we were teaching it was the right way of brokering freight, of negotiating your margins. Negotiating margins is an integral part of freight brokering. That's really what freight brokering is all about. So for those of you who thought that you could just, take money from the carrier, well, those days are over with. They're over with. You can no longer steal money from the carriers. Okay? So now that's the way it's supposed to be done, right? That's the way it's supposed to be done, which means I'm getting mine, if I minus out my 15%, I'm getting, my 15%, I'm getting my 7 cents or 58 cents per mile, and the carrier is getting their $3 and, their 358 or their 349 or whatever theirs is. So you have to add that to that, right? Your margin to it, and then that becomes the all-in rate of what you're charging the shipper. And then when you go to the load boards, you're posting this load on the load boards at the $3.58 per mile, which is what the lane rate says it should be. And your money comes from the extra 57 cents or 54 cents or whatever you're making. And for those of you who say, well, that's not enough money. Yes, it is. It's enough money. If you're getting 54 cents per mile, 0.54, that times what? 1,548 miles. 1,548 miles. This is a fair. That's a very decent broker's fee for a broker. $835. The carrier gets the $5,541.84. The broker keeps the $835.92. That's a decent what you call it. Okay? If you're running 25 loads like that a day, if you're broking 25 loads like that a day, all right, $835 is your broker's fee, $835.92, $835.92. You're doing 25 loads like that a day, times 25 loads. I mean, that's $20,000 a day that the brokerage firm is making. Roughly $21,000 a day that the brokerage firm is making. Times, what, 5 days a week? That's $104,000 a week. So that's not enough for a broker? Of course it is. Of course it is. But that's how we do business. We don't do business where we take that money from the carrier side. We take a whole dollar from it. We take, anything from it. You're not supposed to take anything from that. That's not how you were supposed to operate. You were supposed to negotiate your margin on top of that. Okay? So that is how brokers were supposed to be operating all the while. All the while, that is how brokers were supposed to be operating. If you were doing anything other than what I just showed you, then you were wrong. You were stealing. It is what it is. You can be mad at me. You can call me whatever. You can send me all your little hate speeches and all whatever this and that. But hey, a dog is a dog, right? A cat is a cat. If you were stealing, you're a thief. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. That's just how it is. All right? I don't mince words. I don't bite my tongue. I don't take it back. As I said then, 10 months ago, I don't take it back because I know I'm right. And I know that you were stealing. Now, those of you who are hollering, yeah, that's what hit dogs do. They holler. And you all definitely got hit. Okay? So look, that's all I can say for I got no sympathy for you because you know you were doing wrong. You know you were doing wrong. Now, let me go ahead and let's go over exactly what it is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has been saying here. Let's go and find that article. I got the article pulled up. Here it is right here. All right. This is the article. I'm going to play this article out because I got it where you can play it on the voice thing there. So I'm going to play it out. Let me make sure I'm sharing my sound. Yep, sound is being shared. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to play this article out.
Fmcsa shuts door on brokers in rate transparency dispute. Truck broker lobby group asserts Fmcsa is being negligent on safety while entertaining private contract issues that should be decided in the marketplace. Washington, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has denied a rulemaking petition by the Transportation Intermediaries Association, TIA, to remove a requirement that freight brokers disclose to carriers transaction records between brokers and shippers. Fmcasa's denial, published Friday, was issued just a day after the agency agreed to initiate a formal rulemaking by two groups representing small business truckers, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association and the Small Business in Transportation Coalition, SBTC, requesting that brokers be prohibited from denying carriers the ability to access such records. All three petitions, Fmcsa combined the OOIDA and SBTC petitions into a single rulemaking procedure, were filed in 2020. After careful consideration, Fmcsa has determined that TA's petition does not contain adequate justification to initiate rulemaking, the agency wrote to TIA Vice President of Government Affairs Chris Burrows. Fmcsa noted that it had reviewed all comments on TA's request and held a public listening session on it as well. Fmcsa believes that elimination of the record's disclosure provision would be contrary to the stated transportation policy goals in 49 U.S.C. 13,101, including promotion of fairness and efficiency in the transportation industry, Fmcsa stated. Therefore, Fmcsa is denying TA's petition for rulemaking. Asked to comment, Burrows said TIA is extremely disappointed the agency is taking this route. He told Freight Waves, "We've got a situation where hundreds of millions of dollars of freight is being stolen by fraudulent companies in the trucking market. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is telling us that truck crashes are up 10%. A majority of the trucks on the road go without a safety rating. It's a complete failure by the Fmcsa when it comes to safety," Burrows said. Instead, they want to initiate a rulemaking that involves private commercial contract negotiations. "We're kind of dumbfounded. At issue, as laid out in the OOIDA and SPTC petitions, is whether a provision requiring a driver or other counterparty to a broker-managed transaction be able to obtain and review documentation on the deal from the broker, which is the current law, 49 CFR 371.3c, can be turned into a rule that the counterparties must get that documentation if requested." Quoting from SPTC's petition, Fmcsa noted that the group explained how freight rates at the time had dropped drastically and that motor carriers have reported instances of brokers engaging in profiteering, price gouging, and lowballing tactics. Fmcsa also underscored SPTC's claims at the time that brokers, in some instances, were receiving commissions of up to 65% on loads due to the sudden freight shortage in the early days of the pandemic, combined with overcapacity in the trucking markets. To evade regulations, some brokers have resorted to requiring carriers, as parties to broker transactions, to waive their rights to obtain documents that show the amount the shipper is paying the broker, Fmcsa stated, referring to SPTC's petition. SPTC further states that 49 CFR 371.3 should be strengthened to stop this abuse. In addition to strengthening the broker transparency provision in the regulation, OOIDA also wants Fmcsa to require that brokers provide an electronic copy of each transaction record automatically within 48 hours after the contractual service has been completed. "Our problem with electronic submission of data from our members is that this is our customers' information, and we're not confident this information will be kept confidential," Burrows countered. Certain brokers have to include contract language so that proprietary shipper information is not disclosed, and these groups want to make it illegal. No one is forcing carriers to sign these contracts or even to work with a broker. He added that whenever there is a downturn as in the current market, the freight rates are driven down by supply and demand, but our guys always look like the villains. On the same day Fmcsa agreed to initiate the rulemaking, OOIDA President and CEO Todd Spencer wrote to Fmcsa Administrator Robin Hutchison to emphasize that more regulatory oversight on the issue will not only protect carriers from unscrupulous brokers, it helps to protect the public by providing a marketplace in which each party behaves in a clear and transparent manner, and will also give motor carriers better protections when there are claims or disagreements with brokers, he asserted. Related articles. Broker Trade Group renews double brokering debate with new white paper. Fmcsa poses questions on broker reporting requirements. Trucker rally for fair rates gets White House attention. Click for more Freight Waves articles by John Gallagher.
All right. Look, exciting stuff, huh? Look, let me get out of this for a second here. Look, you know, the pushback that the Brokers Association is doing is they're really saying what they're saying is though what they're trying to deflect with look, a lot of these brokers knew they were doing wrong. If they didn't know, what's the old saying? Ignorance is no excuse. I mean, if you were ignorant, it's because you were taught wrong, and you should have had the foresight to go and research and find out the right way of doing it. That's what I did. When I started my brokerage firm, I wanted to know how to broker freight on the right way. So I sought out an old school broker and said, "Hey, teach me how this is done." And they taught me about margins. They taught me about how to do business the right way, about negotiating with shippers. And look, shippers, they understand that brokers, because this is the way it was done in the beginning. But a shipper is under no obligation to correct a broker who is doing something nefarious that's going to cause the shipper to save more money. I mean, let's face it. The shipper ain't going to say, well, Mr. Broker, you should be negotiating a margin with us. No shipper was going to say that because it was saving the shipper millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. So obviously the shipper was like, man, these crazy, dumb behind brokers out there think they're actually taking money from the carrier side. They're not even trying to negotiate with us to get paid for moving the freight. So you can't put it off on the shipper and say, well, the shipper let us do it. No, the shipper was under no obligation to correct your dumb decision. Okay, to correct your decision to do something that you knew wasn't right. Look, y'all know me. Y'all know me. I'm not one to, bite my tongue. I'm not one to sugarcoat anything. I always tell it to you just like it is. That's what my students appreciate when they take our courses. Okay, look, look, but look, I told y'all this was gonna happen. I told brokers this was going to happen. I run a brokerage firm myself. Matter of fact, I run 2 brokerage firms. Well, we manage 2 brokerage firms, and I run 1 brokerage firm. Okay, myself and Ms. Jen Williams through our freight broker management firm, the RBBS LLC corporate consultant for freight broker startups. So we run 2 very successful brokerage firms. In fact, one of our brokerage firms, Hollaboard Logistics, well, we just signed a huge contract with 2 huge shippers. And the shippers appreciate that we negotiated a margin with them because the day when we sent them out the margins, we came back and said, oh yeah, your first margin is right on track. The 43 cents, per mile that you're making, that's right in line. We have no problem paying that. Now the second margin, the second lane that you quote us on, you're not that far off, we're a little bit off, but we are close enough that we can come together and make something happen. And then the third lane, the fourth lane, the fifth lane, the sixth lane that you're doing for those are just perfect. See, that's how that relationship is supposed to go. Shippers know that you're supposed to negotiate a margin. And when shippers get a broker who comes to them and say, hey, let's talk about our margin, they know they're dealing with someone who is competent. They know they're dealing with someone who is fair. They know they're dealing with someone who is on the up and up. They know they're dealing with someone who doesn't have a problem with transparency. They know they're dealing with someone they can trust. Okay? But when you brokers go to them and say, oh, well, we just take it off the, just whatever y'all are paying to the carrier, they know that you ain't no good. They know you're a snake in the grass. I mean, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Okay, I don't mean to be offensive, but I don't want to be a liar either. I'd rather tell the truth and offend you than to lie and be a hypocrite. It just is what it is. It is what it is. All right, look. Look, I appreciate you all for joining me here for this this brief little broadcast, and because I just felt compelled to come out and take notice of what was going on in the industry today when it comes to brokers. Because look, back in October last year, these same brokers, that same group that's doing all that bouncing around and trying to say, well, this is that, we can't be sure they're going to protect the information, and they're doing all this deflection now. But back then they were saying, well, oh no, dispatchers operated illegally, and someone should do something about it, should drop the hammer on them and get rid of them, make them start paying bonds and all this sort of stuff. They just running rampant. Dispatchers are just running rampant out there acting like brokers. Boy, people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. All right. Look, that's going to do it for what I had to come to y'all for. Look, we are doing some great things over here on our side. We got some great stuff that we're doing. As y'all know, I've been kind of away for a while, but I've been concentrating a lot on our vocational school stuff because we're now doing our vocational training online for our guaranteed career placement. We have guaranteed career placement now. And of course, when we say guaranteed career, that's what we mean. We have, and this is one of the brokerage firms. This is a brokerage firm that we manage, Hollaboard Logistics. Myself and Jen Williams, I am the chief operations officer. She is the VP of operations for Hollywood, and we are doing some great things. We've got a full staff, and we're always hiring. Let me go to show you our staff here. We have a very, very great staff, and we're, I mean, this is the time. We have a great staff, people, as you all can see here. This is our staff. We have about 20 or 30 freight acquisition executives, another 20 or 30 carrier group managers, and about 7 or 8 processors. And our people are, I mean, they're just great. I have to call out Miss Connie Turner because she has just been on fire here lately. She signed up 2 major shippers that's giving us access to a couple of thousand loads per day, and she signed up a carrier group. She has more than 97,000 trucks in her carrier group. So she is rocking and rolling. And with the way that we are paying, she is on track to have a 7, let me repeat that, a 7, this is her right here, a 7-figure yearly income in residual income, because we're the only brokerage firm that pays residual compensation. Okay, if you want to learn more about it, reach out to us. Give us a call at 800-819-9759. Give us a call and ask us about our hiring process and things of that nature. If you want to become a sales consultant with Hollywood Logistics, you can go right here to our career page. And these are some of our other agents, and they're doing very well too. But I had to call her out because she is just burning it up right now. She's tearing it up. And she is going to be one of our 7-figure earners coming up this year. So that's what we're all about at Hollywood Logistics. We have another brokerage firm that we manage. We do the hiring, training, and the sales training, everything for Spirits Logistics too. And they are doing very well over there at Spirits Logistics, and they're also hiring as well. But if you want to get on with Hollywood Logistics, go to our career page here. As you can see here, you can go down to our career page. Currently, we are hiring individuals who have a book of business. Now, if you don't have a book of business, don't fret. You can still get on with us. You just have to take our freight acquisitions executive guaranteed career placement training, or you have to take our carrier group manager guaranteed career placement training, which is offered through the RBBS Logistics Learning Centers. That's our vocational school. But if you have a book of business, come on here and you click on one of these and you can apply. Click the apply button, and it'll take you right over to the area where you can apply for this position. Okay, we're always hiring, but just note that if you don't have a book of business, you're going to be required to take our guaranteed career placement course. And you take that here, just click this button here where it says guaranteed career placement. It says here, do you have a book of business? No. Train with us for 2 weeks and immediately work in our freight brokerage firm. Click that. That'll take you over to our page where you can go ahead and get signed up with the RBBS Logistics Learning Centers and go ahead and take our course. You can go over here to where it says course enrollment, job guaranteed. Click that and take you right over to the enrollment area. Go over here. There's the freight broker agent course here, and there is the freight dispatch agent course there for guaranteed career placement. Both those are guaranteed career placement with our brokerage firm. The course fee is $1,850. It is taught by live instructors from the RBBS Logistics Learning Centers vocational school. So you can click on that, and you can pay through a firm if you don't have the whole. You don't want to pay the whole $1,800 up front. You can also go and pay through a firm and pay as little as $116 per month with the firm. You'll see that when you go to checkout, and when you go to checkout, you'll see the affirm button there. Matter of fact, if I refresh this, it should pop up here on the screen. Sometimes it does pop up, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, there it is right there. $1,850 is the course enrollment fee, as low as $65 per month with a firm. That's low. That's low. They've even gone down lower. So they're actually doing, they're stretching out the financing amount longer now. When I first did this, it was $116 a month. Now it's down to as low as $65 a month with the firm. So that makes this course a very affordable course, especially when you consider it's guaranteed career placement with our brokerage firm. And our brokerage firm is the only brokerage firm, one of two of the only brokerage firms in the country that pays residual compensation, which means you do the job once, you keep getting paid for it over and over and over again. That's how Miss Connie Turner is on her way to doing 7 figures a year now as a freight acquisition executive with Hollowboard Logistics. Look, everybody, I appreciate you all. I thank you all for tuning in and listen to me just rant about what's going on. But I just got so excited about the the new things though. Look, I've always said it's not good to throw stones when you're when you live in a glass house, and that's essentially what has happened. I knew then that when they was forcing these mandates and provisions on forcing the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to look at dispatches, I knew that they was going to turn around and turn those binoculars, turn that microscope back around and look at brokers too. And believe me when I tell you, there were a whole lot more brokers operating nefariously than there were dispatchers by a long shot, And that's what the whole crying is about now. So it is what it is. But y'all have a good day. Have a blessed week. Hope y'all stay safe. Hope y'all stay prosperous. We got something new that's coming out. I'm going to do another video here about our streaming channel that myself, Ms. Jen Williams, we are founders of a new streaming channel called Prosper. It is on Roku, and it will be on all the streaming channels, Apple TV, it's going to be on Android TV, it's going to be on Fire TV, on Amazon Fire, it's going to be on all the smart television sets, Philips, everything. And we are the only streaming channel that pays our subscribers. Now, if you want to know more about that, get in contact with us or go to my Facebook page, or you can look us up. Our website is, for that streaming channel, is investinprosperipo.com. That N is just the N, not that IN, but invest, the letter N, prosperipo.com. Let me show y'all what that looks like here real quick before we go on. Real quick. This is our the investment presentation site. You all can go to it. It is invest in, that's the letter N, prosperipo.com. And so we right now you can get in on it doing our seed capital round for as little as 39 cents per share. Now that won't be the case once we go live and go public with this, worldwide. Once we launch this worldwide, it's not going to be 39 cents a share. So if you want to get in on, if you want to have a seat at the table, I've got the seat pulled out for you. Whether you sit down, that's up to you. But if you want to know more about Prosper, our streaming channel, which is going to have all types of, blockbuster movies, live TV shows, live sports, live news, and a social media wraparound. And we're the only streaming channel that allows our subscription members to make money by sharing our premium rewards link. Every subscriber gets a unique premium rewards link that they can share on social media. And when people click on it and they sign up for Prosper, they start getting 20% of the monthly subscription fees every month. So if you refer 500 people, if your link is responsible for referring 500 people and they sign up for Prosper, guess what? You're going to be making somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3,995 a month and growing. So that's Prosper. It's going to be huge. But anyway, thank you all. I appreciate you all. And let me get off this thing so I can go do some other stuff and do some work. I appreciate y'all because I don't consider this work. This is fun for me. But look, I appreciate y'all. Thank you all again. This has been Calvin with the RBBS Logistics Learning Centers and RBBS LLC Corporate Consultant and Hollowboard Logistics and Spirit Logistics. Y'all have a great and blessed day. Bye, everybody.